Nuestras historias para saber más. Un mensaje de the Alzheimer's Association y the Ad Council.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.33333% of adults. That means it could be me, my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite sister, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 in 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. I'm going to take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
Back to the Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in. Ticket Weeknights, Harrison Arns on the ones and twos. We got Jackson, one of the new ticket hires, here with me on a very special NFL draft edition of Ticket Weeknights. Getting wrapped up with Megan Whitaker, Lindsey Teely. I encourage everybody, go check it out. You find great info there. Great camp coming up, especially for women golfers, younger ones, and the more experienced high school athletes. If they want to get some extra lessons at really affordable prices, definitely check that out and listen to our promos throughout the week. But Jackson, as I was doing that 25 minutes, my phone's been blowing up. There's been some picks that looks like they're surprising the NFL world. Fill me in. What's going down?
So when you left with Don't Punt Hour, it was Armand Menmu going to the Jets. Right after that, Teteroa McMillan goes to the Panthers, which is it makes sense.
I thought the Panthers were going to trade.
I also thought they were going to trade.
I didn't know if there's enough value there at number 8 to where.
I just don't know where they would have sent that pick. I don't know who would have traded up to 8 to pick. I don't know. So I mean, it makes sense. He's the best wide receiver besides Travis Hunter.
And if you don't have enough there, that's worth it. Then you're just going to go ahead and take it.
And the Saints pass on a quarterback and go Kelvin Banks.
Were you surprised?
I was. I thought for sure if they stuck with their pick and Jackson Dart or Shedeur Sanders, especially Shedeur Sanders, got to that pick, I thought for sure they'd take him.
Shedor's slipping a lot, and the biggest thing I've seen on him is his quote unquote anticipation is really bad. That's where people are flagging him. It's like, yes, you can say, you want to call it crossing route anticipation. Not really. You're more looking for the comebacks and everything else like that. So, Jackson, I'm going to go on a ramble here as you do a little bit more producer work. But I was surprised for those guys to go ahead and just not go with Shedeur Sanders. But on my rant here, I think the one area why he might have slipped is that anticipation. You look at a guy like Burrow, that was his best ability, was this anticipation of knowing where his guys are going to be. You look at Justin Fields, he has the same problem that Shedeur Sanders has. And one notable trait that a quarterback with bad anticipation is they're going to take a lot of sacks. Now, that's not the entire case. You can argue about the offensive line, but that was the same thing that was said about Justin Fields, right? Well, it's all the offensive line. Hell, even Caleb Williams this year, there's times where he was lacking in anticipation, and you want to bash on the offensive line. Yes, those were not elite offensive lines that you're going to bang your chest about and say they're good. You should be a phenomenal quarterback with this line in front of you, but there's certainly an unnecessary amount of sacks taken when these quarterbacks are not anticipating and just waiting for their guys to get open. The other part with Shedeur Sanders is, again, you're thrown to the Heisman. That's, in a weird way, almost going to hurt you at times, especially when that Heisman and Travis Hunter is incredible as he is. So with that being said, I am not horribly surprised that the Saints passed on Shedeur Sanders. However, I did think, even though I'm ranting about his anticipation being one of his biggest weaknesses, I think that is something you can try to iron out in a good system. But now, with them moving on, I think the most likely candidate for Shedeur Sanders is going to be the Saints. The other guy that Jackson mentioned before he took conference, he's joining me back again now, was Jackson Dart. Any chance that Jackson Dart gets drafted before Shedeur Sanders?
I think there's a slight chance of it. I just don't see anybody doing that.
No, it seems like the Steelers, if anybody, are going to take Shedeur Sanders, and I haven't heard any teams that are necessarily in love with Jackson Dart.
Yeah, I think he's the most. I think Shedeur Sanders is probably a better quarterback than him, but I do think Jackson Dart is the most pro-ready quarterback besides Cam Ward, if that makes sense.
I get what you're saying there. What do you think the Saints saw in Shedeur? I went on my rant there, but why they would pass on a guy like Shedeur, because they do need a quarterback.
I mean, with Kellen Moore being first-year head coach, I don't know if he wants to instantly take on the responsibility of bringing up a rookie quarterback as head coach. So I think that kind of plays into that maybe a little bit. I know the Saints organization is super high on Spencer Rattler. They're really high on him.
Rattler's interesting.
They love Spencer Rattler. I don't think their fans really love him that much. He's not awful.
I think I'd take Kyle McCord before Rattler.
Yeah, he's not awful. Then again, this is the type of draft where they could go and get a guy in like the 4th round. They totally could. I think a guy like Quinn Ewers would make sense going there. But yeah, I don't think they wanted to have the responsibility of maybe bringing in like a top quarterback and using that type of pick there. Get O-line. I mean, you can't. It's hard to be mad when you draft an offensive lineman. You want a flashy pick. It's just hard to be mad when you draft an offensive lineman.
It is, especially when it's a blue chip, because we were talking about with Will Campbell, with the Patriots. Not only it fits like a glove in terms of Mike Vrabel's guys, like that's who you think of. You think of a guy like Campbell. And the other part of that is worst case scenario, it doesn't work out at left tackle, you shift him to guard. It's still not a wasted pick. You just maybe have to move him inside at that guard position. Let's catch up here and stop speculating. Then we had the Bears. They take Colston Loveland, the tight end out of Michigan. This one, I hate it. I don't like it.
Well, I think the team that's on the clock right now is pretty happy about that because they're going to get the best tight end in the draft.
Warren?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's who they're going to get.
Is it the problem I have with, I just thought for sure with the Bears, at 10, they're either going to, especially everything you're hearing, beef up the offensive line. You want to be good in football, like what the Eagles just did. If you can dominate the trenches, you can get away with a lot of mistakes.
I understand with okay, Genty's not here. That was probably your guy you were going to pick.
Yeah, so you had to scramble.
So you were like, okay, best available.
But then you go,
is Colston Loveland best available?
That's what I don't understand.
I don't think he is.
I don't either.
I don't think he is. And I know people are like, well, a lot on these boards right now, I think at the bottom it says Kuiper's best available Shedeur. So they're not going to go Shedeur Sanders, obviously. But I thought Tyler Warren made sense. I mean, I still don't like the tight end pick just because you have Cole Kmet, but I see the vision.
I guess the way I'm looking at Cole Kmet, great blocking tight end. He's probably the best wide receiver tight end in the draft. So that's the direction I'm leaving. The best catch. They must have thought tight end position, whatever, that offense they're going to run. They want a tight end. He was going to be an explosive receiving tight end. And you can pair that up with Cole Kmet. So there we are. I don't necessarily hate it, but I would have probably favored something in the trenches. Moving on, San Francisco 49ers, Michael Williams, edge rusher.
It's hard to argue there. He's a good edge rusher.
Edge rushers were stacked in this draft too.
Yeah, he's one of the better ones. It's hard to argue with that. I think it's a good pick for the Niners. He's got Nick Bosa to learn beside, and he'll do well there.
You think Pierce slides quite a bit?
James, yeah, he's been probably one of the bigger letdowns for this past season. But preseason he was top 5 every month.
Preseason, everyone was talking about, it was obviously Abdul Carter, but then I think he was probably one of those second favorites.
Yeah, he was up there in the top, at least I think top 5 for draft picks at one point. So yeah, I think teams are passing on him because of this past season, and he didn't have a necessarily bad season. He just didn't have a top 10, top 5.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see where he lands. Moving on here, Cowboys 12th pick, Tyler Booker, your offensive lineman out of Alabama. They do go with the trenches.
It's a Zach Martin replacement. It's hard to be mad at it. It's just, when you're a fan, it's kind of hard to sit there and be like, wow, awesome pick. But it really is. It's really a good pick. The kid's really good. He's one of the better guards in this draft. And
you're a Cowboys guy too, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, would you have gone any other direction here? I think this is the best.
I thought Matthew Golden was fun. I thought that made sense. Your wide receiver 2 right now is Jalen Tolbert. So.
Yeah, you still need to pair somebody.
Receivers deep. I think that they can. It's the one thing. It's hard to disagree with Jerry because he's like, I think we can get running back and we can get those later in the draft. He's not wrong.
He's not.
It's just I thought Matthew Golden he's gonna go within these next couple picks. I think if Houston gets to Houston, the Texans are gonna take him and keep him there. I liked Matthew Golden. Matthew Golden's a Dana Holgerson guy and Da'Keil Shorts guy. Yeah, I like that. I was like, that's just. He's the fastest player in the draft. One, that's always good. I thought he should be going in these next couple picks. Who's on the clock?
Yeah, so right now, the pick is...
Has Jalen Walker
on
gone
the clock
yet?
right now is the Falcons.
Jalen Walker hasn't gone yet. Jalen Walker's probably got to go to the Falcons.
Either Kenneth Grant went to the Dolphins, another
Yeah.
defensive lineman out of Michigan, and then you mentioned it before, Colts get Tyler Warren.
I think that's the guy they wanted.
That's perfect. I can't believe they landed
That's the guy they wanted, and they didn't have to trade up to do it. I think that they were... That room was probably celebrating when the Bears picked Colston Loveland.
Well, especially when you think of the tight end they're going to take. That angle.
I don't know what the scouts see. I don't know if it's personality or I don't know what, because
a good wide receiver. That's what the Bears.
Yeah,
they clearly are emphasizing the best wide receiver tight end in the draft. Otherwise, there's no world why you don't.
It gives Caleb Williams another option.
Yes.
So I get it. I seriously do, and I feel like y'all still have DeAndre
Swift. Yeah,
y'all still have DeAndre Swift. So you guys still have a running back.
Yeah.
So
we didn't absolutely need to go get another running back there, especially when Genty's off the board.
I thought if Genty was there, that made sense.
100%. You get a back that good who's still there all the way at 10.
That's how I felt with the Cowboys and Tedroy McMillan. I was like, he's probably not going to be there. If he's there, take him.
Yep.
I think Atlanta will go Jalen Walker, the linebacker out of Georgia.
Yeah,
if I had to guess.
Just looking at some possibilities, what people are projecting, I think possibly Mike Green as well. He's an interesting one. That's the edge rusher out of Marshall. Yeah, you could go another edge rusher. I'm not sure if that's what the Falcons necessarily need. I will say, though, I wondered if the Falcons would be trying to move on from Kirk Cousins in this draft. To move on, the contract's so
I don't know
heavy with him.
I don't know who would take that. I think
you'd have to give up.
I think his best shot is sending him to Minnesota. If Minnesota wants to take on that contract, which they probably would be fine with, because you get a guy who is going to thrive because it's Minnesota.
Yep.
So I think that would be his best landing spot to back up JJ McCarthy, kind of have a veteran presence since Sam Darnold left.
Yeah, and the Vikings in the whole world really ever want to do that again.
And Aaron Rodgers wants to go to the Vikings, but the Vikings are like, no, no.
Where do you think Aaron Rodgers ends up, if at all, when the NFL season starts?
His couch.
Yeah, I think seriously, he's kind of been weird about it. Well, I shouldn't say weird. Maybe he does have personal
at this point,
issues.
if I'm an NFL team, I'm going,
no.
Should let me know.
Yeah.
You should have signed sooner. We gave you a chance.
And well, now you got the draft as well. Like, teams are finally putting in their plans of what their roster is going to look like, and Rodgers isn't part of the picture. And especially, the Saints is another one of those big targets, while Shedeur Sanders is still on the board. And I think even if Shedeur, no one's going to take him in that draft.
What happens if the Steelers pass on Shedeur? Does he go to day 2? Or does somebody say, okay, he's still on the board, I trade back up?
Let me look who's all after the Steelers. Chargers, no. Packers, no. Vikings, no. Texans, no. Rams, no. Ravens, no. Day 2, I think, right?
I'll tell you, my biggest what-if scenario for this draft was going to be if the Browns went with Hunter at 2, stuck with the 2 pick, and then traded back up to get Shedeur. That would have been pretty interesting, but obviously it didn't happen. That would have been...
I think they made the right move.
That was something today. I was like, oh, that could happen. They could totally do that, but they didn't.
So yeah, I think he definitely will be a day 2 guy. Unless, like you said, you see some team desperate try to trade up there and slide in. But it's just going to have to wait and see moment there. Speaking of the quarterbacks, Jackson Dart, Milroe, Gabriel's hardly getting talked about at all. I mentioned Howard before, people like him.
Mm-hmm.
Give me the quarterbacks that you would like, that you expect to see coming off the board here. Starting with Cam Ward 1.
I mean, Cam Ward obviously at 1, but I think Shedeur's got to be the next guy off the board. I think it wouldn't be it would be a shocker, but it wouldn't be a shocker if Jackson Dart went before Shedeur. And honestly, I think after those 3, I think Jalen Milroe was the next guy. Scouts loved him. He's a great athlete.
Yeah.
So, and he has all the pieces. I mean, the one time I've seen him play in person, he played horrible.
Anytime you go through significant coaching changes like that too,
like
you see the Eagles went through the same thing when Nick Sirianni lost his OC in DC. Those offenses, what do you know? They struggle when you got to put in a bunch of new stuff.
Yeah,
and you saw that from Milroe late with the new staff.
I think he should have went the year before.
Yeah, for sure.
I think he should have went out instead of staying a year. Should have left when he was high with Saban. Because, Saban praises him.
That's what I was really surprised he was a guy that did stick around. But I guess, like, if you're him and you have that tape and you have that confidence, but again, it's like, I got the new coaching staff and everybody else. It's like, I got to make sure I'm clicking. But he must have was really sold by DeBoer. And obviously, he wouldn't stay if he wasn't. So,
oh, no, for sure. I mean, he's got all the pieces. That's why I think, like, he's like the Anthony Richardson of this draft. He's not going to go as high, but he is the Anthony Richardson of his draft. He didn't have a stellar season that made you eye open like, wow, this guy's going to go high in the NFL draft. But he's such a good athlete that you can't not notice him.
I thought the Colts might try to bring him in.
That'd be interesting. It's two. You have pretty much the exact same quarterbacks in the same room.
But Anthony Richardson, I don't know if Colts have any faith in him really anymore.
I think they're losing it. I think, maybe he gets traded tonight. That'd be interesting.
That's what I'm wondering. And I thought maybe there's a scenario.
Raiders?
Well, yeah. Oh,
that would make sense. The Raiders, that's a match.
You could do it there. But it's just with the Colts, it's never looked good there.
No.
And I know that team's ready to move on, look for a new quarterback. So I thought maybe there's a world where you can bring him in there on that contract, and you kind of already got the move to, we're going to move on from Anthony Richardson and try to trade him off.
No, do you think the Falcons are about to trade this?
35 seconds left on the clock. I haven't seen anything yet.
Because there's nothing.
Pick's not in yet.
Oh, all right, they're saying the pick is in. Okay.
A few seconds left.
They took their time on that one.
As we will go ahead and throw it to break. Hopefully on the other side, we can figure out who the Falcons go ahead and bring in. We'll talk about that next. Me and Jackson, a little bit of NFL edition. Don't go anywhere. We'll keep it rolling on the other side.
This is how we do every day. We be grinding, and if you want to come and text us.
If you love them enough to turn off your music and pretend like their music is your music.
This is Mommy's jam.
Then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket.
Okay, playing 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, turn down the lights.
Dimming the lights.
Alexa, order a pizza. The big one. All the toppings.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Alexa.
That's a lot of pizza for just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend.
Spring by joining an evidence-based program to improve your health and well-being. These programs use proven strategies to help you make lasting changes, whether it's boosting nutrition, increasing activity, managing stress, or enhancing wellness. Invest in yourself today and feel your best this spring and beyond. Paid for by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
I used to smoke. I thought of cigarettes as my best friend.
They were always there for me when I needed a break.
I also thought cigarettes were my best friend, and then they gave me peripheral artery disease.
I smoked and had a stroke. Actually, multiple strokes.
I smoked and have heart disease.
Here's my tip. If cigarettes are your friend, you need a better friend.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Did you know that AmeriCorps programs improve lives, strengthen communities, and foster civic engagement in Nebraska? For example, members serving with AmeriCorps programs like Partnership for Kids provide kids with the support they need to succeed in school and prepare for their dream career. Discover more about AmeriCorps programs making a difference in your community at serve.nebraska.gov. Paid for by Serve Nebraska, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
I tried to hide my cigarette smoking. Then I was rushed into emergency surgery to repair the damage smoking did to my heart. It shocked everyone because they thought I was healthy. Yet because I smoked, I had a severe heart condition that nearly killed me. My tip is, you may be able to hide your smoking from the world, but you can't hide from the damage smoking does to your body.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Outside is where winter adventure unfolds. On frozen lakes, icy landscapes, and snow-covered slopes. Feeling the cold air rush by as you race downhill. The freedom of gliding with ease and the warmth of being together. From epic sled rides to the fun of ice fishing. It's all right here, beneath Nebraska skies. Start your winter adventure at yournebraskaparks.com. Sponsored by Nebraska Game and Parks, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Associations and this station.
You grew up on cereal for breakfast and you graduated into drinking coffee at some point as an adult. Now there's a place in Lincoln where you can stay caffeinated but eat like you used to. Control Coffee and Cereal Bar brings Saturday morning vibes to every day with locally roasted specialty coffees, Lotus energy drinks, and tons of breakfast cereals with toppings. And did we mention they have video games to play while you're there too? Control Coffee and Cereal Bar open 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday and 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. on the weekends at 15th and Pine Lake.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC in Louisville has experienced hail damage, and there's never been a better time to buy a new or pre-owned vehicle. The hail was very spotty, some pretty light, others heavier, but there are huge discounts right now happening at Koppel. So please do not wait. Get thousands of additional discounts along with 0% APR. There will be a lot of people heading this way to purchase vehicles. So stop on in or check us out online at koppelcars.com. All deals with approved credit.
You know the saying, April showers bring May flowers. Well, it's true for heart health, too. Sprinkling in a few small changes can make a big impact on your heart health. Try adding a vegetable to your dinner or no salt seasoning. Looking for support in making these changes? Join a workshop to learn more about a healthy lifestyle. Search Chronic Disease Nebraska for more details. Paid for by Nebraska DHHS, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Early break
wrap. What do you have?
Oh yeah,
when someone orders a wrap, I want to go come across the table.
Oh, wrap.
What do you guys have? What's your best wrap?
No.
What's your
so
was that buffalo chicken? That's incredible. Yeah. When you say I want to get, I'm going to stop where they have great wraps. I want to throw a punch.
Here's one too that I encountered
with Steve Sipple, Jake Sorensen, and Bill Bush from 6 to 9 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize to participate in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the KNTK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeited. Thank you for participating in our contests, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
Back to The Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in. Ticket Weeknights NFL Draft Edition. Me, Jackson. We're going to sit here not just for this hour. We're going another hour after this one as the draft continues to go on. Jalen Walker was the last one. He goes to the Falcons out of Georgia. No surprises there. I think the Falcons, as you mentioned before, pleased to see him land there. You suspected he'd still be there, but like I said, it's good to just see him be there. So I think the Falcons got exactly what they wanted. Cardinals pick is in for them. Which direction do you think the Cardinals are going to go?
I mean, D-line for sure. They're saying that, like, on the draft screen here on ESPN, they're saying wide receiver. They're putting that in the one slot. I don't know about that. You just get Marvin Harrison, but it's got to be D-line.
I think you go.
They haven't had a guy on that defensive line since J.J. Watt, and it was at the bare end of his career. Yeah. So I think you got to go defensive line. It's so stacked here in this final stretch, but yeah.
I think a good one for them. The problem is I just don't. I just don't know a lot about Marshall football and how good Mike Green is.
Sources are saying Walter Nolan.
Walter Nolan, okay.
Walter Nolan, Ole Miss. That's a really good pick, actually. I forgot he was still on the board.
Yeah, so
if that's what they go.
Well, and that just fits too, right? You're sticking on the defense. I'm good with that one too. You get an edge rusher, a good defensive lineman. Either of those, I think they're going to go defensive lineman. Like I said, the pick is in, but then up next after that one, Cincinnati Bengals, all the way at 17.
Cincinnati Bengals.
The best tackles are being taken up. But you're still gonna go trenches, right?
You got to.
Yeah.
You got to protect. You got to protect Joe Burrow because if that man goes through another season of a bad offensive line, he's gonna get RG3.
Cincinnati is gonna be in an uproar too if they.
No, if they go anything other than that, I understand the Jamar Chase pick, and I'm sure they do too.
Yeah,
when they skipped over, I think it was Penei Sewell.
Mm-hmm.
That made sense. That was fine. This year, you got to go offensive line. I think no matter what it is, let me see if I can pull up a big board of guys that have been taking.
Yeah, and that's what I need.
Because I'm trying to think of all the other guys.
Let me pull up the prospect rankings here as well. But yeah, it's just gonna be very interesting to see.
There we go.
Still waiting on okay, there we go. Yeah. The Cardinals, they do take Walter Nolan, defensive tackle out of Ole Miss. He is heading down there to Arizona. And now up next, the Bengals are officially on the clock. When we talked about it, they definitely probably need to go towards the offensive lineman route. The problem is for me, I got to figure out where we're at in the depth chart in terms of finding your blue chip lineman. And for the Bengals to where it's worth it. I still think they got to go there, but
Bengals could go Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. Kind of forgot about him.
Mm-hmm.
This PFF has him over Kelvin Banks.
He's got the problem with the injury, though, and that's where his where was he at before? San Diego State, I think. He just doesn't have a ton of tape on him. And then over at Ohio State, the injury is really going to hurt him there. And I think it's a little bit of a risk, but if you the ceiling on him might be the highest out of everybody left. If you're not afraid to take,
and with guards, it's a big drop off after Tyler Booker, the new Dallas Cowboy. It drops off pretty far and goes to Tate Ratledge out of Georgia. Not bad. It's a pretty big drop off. The tackles are a little bit more consistent.
Yep.
With being spread out, so I would imagine they go tackle, whether it's Ohio State. I forget his name now. Just went away from it. Josh Simmons, or they could go. This is the guy I was telling you about, who earlier today, for those of you listening that may not know, earlier today, it was rumored that the Cowboys were going to go Gray Zabel offensive line in round 1. They obviously didn't. They go Tyler Booker. They go guard, which makes a lot of sense. Way more sense than a tackle.
Yep.
Gray Zabel, NDSU, is another tackle on the board here, who PFF actually has pretty high.
Okay.
On their rankings. So I guess
Bengals got to hate how this one's kind of shaken out for them.
Yeah,
they're in a tough situation where you know what you need to do, but are you that happy?
I thought Armand Membu was going to slip a little bit further. I thought that it made sense to the Jets, but I thought if the Jets didn't take him, he was going to slip, and he was going to probably be a steal.
And then I'm sure that's what the Bengals were hoping.
Because the arguments after the combine were Armand Membu is better than Will Campbell, and obviously Will Campbell goes to Patriots. It made sense. Perfect pick to block for Drake May, but yeah, I'd have to imagine the Bengals go tackle here. I don't know what else they would go.
Yeah. Bring in another wide receiver. No, you're not going to go that.
No,
route,
you just paid an exuberant amount of money for 2 of the receivers that you could have paid.
It's the only option really for me. Even if you don't like the cards that you're being dealt, I still think you got to take it, or you have to.
Zach Taylor should go with a former Husker and get Ty Robinson. That's what he should do.
Go get Ty Robinson. Beef up the defensive line.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll have to talk about some Huskers up next year. But we are up to the break on the first hour here. Like I said, we'll have another hour after this. And if you guys want to throw in your team, you want to throw in your thoughts on the guys that you drafted, 402-464-5685. You can also comment via Facebook, YouTube, X, Channel 961. We're just kind of coasting for the hour, talking about the NFL drafts. We'll definitely read them if you put them in. Don't go anywhere. We got one more hour. Talk to you in a little bit.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
Planning a road trip? Why not turn your car into a mobile classroom? I'm Tim Royers, a parent, teacher, and president of the Nebraska State Education Association. Whether it's a short drive or a long family road trip, time in your car with your children can be time for learning. Play counting games, read road signs, talk about landmarks. Being on the go doesn't mean putting the brakes on learning.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States.